Before you go back down there, do you have any last words?
That might be necessary.
'Cause I'm done feeling blue, done feeling blue.
Have you ever felt like giving up? This week definitely made me feel that way, and it's embarrassing to admit it.
Whatever happened has already happened. I think the biggest difference between my mindset this week and Joel's mindset, why I was able to stay positive, was because I was focusing on what we were going to do next.
It's definitely not the intention to get pity or give a sob story. It's just sharing an experience that I think a lot of us go through, and what's awesome is coming out the other side of it still feeling motivated and having learned something through it all. It all starts at the beginning of the week when we picked up where we left off, trying to pull the prop shaft out just to simply inspect the cutlass bearing and to inspect the stuffing box.
Everything that we were doing, everything that we were trying, the heat, the pounding, the drilling, the wrenching on the bolts with the socket between the couplers, we were going nowhere. We were making so many efforts without results.
This isn't working. This is not going to work. I physically can't turn it any harder than this. We actually hammered on it a little bit. That wasn't the best thing. You might have caused damage to your gearbox and your engine.
When we began to realize what we were doing was causing further problems, I went into the mindset of, okay, we have more problems. What are we gonna do to fix those problems?
I started to feel overwhelmed. Comments from all the videos past started piling up in my head. It felt like we were making things worse. And upon reflection, the biggest problem with my line of thinking was not accepting where we were at and the decisions that we made in the past. Why did we even do this in the first place? Because now we're making things a lot worse, and my body was sore, and I felt like we were giving it so much energy and so much time, and we made things worse, if anything.
It happens frequently when I'm in a rough spot. He kind of bounces me back up by being positive. If he's in a rough spot, I kind of force myself to be more positive to bring him up. It just kind of happened naturally that I wanted him to feel more positive about a negative situation. I think also he had a lot more of the weight and physical effort of this job fall onto his shoulders. He spent about 80% of the time crammed up in that locker, just muscles clenched as tight as he possibly could.
I just wanted to be done. Just felt like giving up. And that wasn't fair to Michael. It wasn't fair to myself. It's not fair to you guys. This is definitely not me complaining. This is me being straight up with you and letting you know the truth. And I think maybe sometimes you have felt that way. It took somebody else picking me up. It took Michael and her positive attitude and her not being affected by my negativity. And it took a friend, Steven, offering to help and stepping in.
Steve coming in at the end to kind of he was our parachute. You know, we were free falling.
Before you go back down there, do you have any last words?
Not necessary, I promise you.
Okay, well, we have the fire extinguisher at the ready.
That might be necessary.
We'll have a camera rolling.
That is okay, that is okay.
And a hospital is only about a half a mile away.
anytime somebody's struggling with something like that, a lot of times just pushing real hard for a short period of time will really change somebody's day and their mood and how they're feeling. So anytime I can get involved with that part of it, when I can kind of change their lives by coming over and help them push through a hard spot, that's a really cool honor. That's a really cool privilege for us to all be able to help each other out like that in the boating community.
This is our dripless stuffing box. So how it works is there is a fiberglass portion of the hull that this fits over and is hose clamped onto. That's where the prop shaft comes in. Prop shaft goes through, and then this collar with set screws goes over the shaft and pins into the shaft where it's compressing these bellows to keep everything snug. That's all that keeps these two portions against one another, is the compression from these bellows. And then any water that wants to come through is let out through this vent. We found some cutting discs at the Ferreteria, and to be honest, neither one of us has cut metal before, especially not in a boat, so we didn't know that something this thin and kind of flimsy looking could actually do the kind of job that it did. It only took us 2 discs. I mean, Steve went down there and he went crazy with it. And they got pretty well mangled, but that cut through a stainless steel bar. So we realized after the fact, once we got it all out and we're taking a closer look at it, that we did budge the prop shaft just slightly. You can see maybe like a millimeter or 2 down in there. The prop shaft did move as we were using that socket. However, we were looking at the set pin hole the whole time and we weren't seeing any movement. Plus, we were pretty sure that we were screwing something up with the gearbox when we were hearing those sounds that sounded like something was breaking. This was the issue the whole time. This pin is like fused into the prop shaft and the coupler. The whole thing is just like one piece. This is the other piece that we wanted to take a look at, the reason why we pulled the prop shaft. We tested it with the propeller on, you know, moving the shaft kind of in all directions to see if there was a lot of play. And there was some play, not a ton. I mean, looking at it now, we'll have to do some research and some comparison because we're not entirely sure what's good and what's not. But it looks pretty good to me. And like I said, there wasn't a ton of play in that shaft, so maybe we did it all for nothing.
And then I felt like a sigh of relief, and I felt that little glimmer of hope come back to keep on going, you know, because you start doubting all the decisions that you made up until this point, and you start questioning. Many of the decisions were not the smartest, but the point is that they were made, and here we are now. So you either do the best you can now, or you just give up. Thank you, Steven. Thank you, Michael. Hopefully, I can recognize these thought patterns when they start to come and can quickly turn them around. It's just dwelling in the past, wishing things had happened differently, wishing you would have made different choices, wishing things would have worked out better. You know, truly you're just wishing you weren't where you were at that moment. It was something so small, and it was supposed to be so easy, and it about broke me like a twig.
The goal is to get to know our boat as well as we can so we're equipped to fix problems as they arise. And for me, I felt like no matter what we were doing, we were still working towards that goal. Everything that was going wrong, everything that we would have to fix in the future was more like, okay, well, that was gonna happen eventually. It's not great that it's happening now, but now we have an opportunity to face it.
These are the tales of Boab.